What is up, guys? Welcome back to another video. Thank you guys for joining me. And what I'm going to do today, what I want to do is talk a little bit about my farming team for the boss stage of Skyfall. So if you have decided to farm for the materials needed to build your Dark Miho, to super evolve your Dark Miho, then you will need the Chaos Shards. And the Chaos Shards can be found in Skyfall, Slumbering City, Glacial Plains, or Aurora Plateau. When you fight the boss levels. And I like to farm, so I built a team that will allow me to auto Skyfalls, the boss on Skyfalls, which is the Fire Tiger. And now when they first released this patch, so the Fire Tiger is extremely strong, which is kind of strange because, I don't know. But he's pretty strong, and I was trying to kind of plow through the stage with nothing but a lot of damage, and that's because that's what I'm used to. I'm used to being able to use my monsters that have siphon. I don't have a lot of siphon, but I have been able to get a few good siphon gems in the past few weeks, and during the Sierra event, so that I at least have two monsters that have a siphon set that will let me get through most content very quickly. But that said, the tiger is not the type of monster that you can just use a lot of damage on, unless you can just kind of one-shot him as quickly as possible, or your monsters can just take a lot of damage. But he's pretty strong unless your monsters are prepared, to take damage and to deal damage at the same time. But you can use a strategy where, so I kind of went back to the general MMO, teams, when you can think about like raid teams and things like that. So I noticed that's kind of what has worked for me in autoing the boss stage, and maybe some adjustments could make this faster. But whenever you hit something that you want to auto and you are having difficulty, so you keep dying, then the best thing to do first is to figure out what works, and then to kind of adjust what works in order to speed up your runs. So I've kind of started adjusting I've gone back and I've adjusted my team so that I know what is pretty stable, and so from there I can further adjust and make something a little bit faster if I felt the need. But this team works pretty well. I don't plan on farming the boss a lot. I only plan on farming him when I need the Chaos Shards, or to keep a stock of enough Chaos Shards in order to turn it over into a Super Stone. But that said, guys, the team that I built is kind of this, it's really a classic MMO team if you guys have actually played MMOs in the past, like WoW. But what this is made up of is basically a tank monster, and this tank really, he doesn't do much damage. It's my Warder Arthur, but I found myself using him a lot more to farm in the later stages of the game, because he's a great SP generator, Blue Souls generator, and he can tank a lot of damage. So I do use him a lot on my defense teams, and so he's built to tank a lot of damage, and so that makes him really nice as someone who aggroes all the attacks, and he's got these additional benefits of being a good orb generator, because he will definitely have a full gauge on his second turn. And then he's also got an attack down, which is pretty nice on some stages. But really, when I use him to farm on these story stages, it's mainly just just to stabilize my team and to aggro attacks. So the other classic MMO character that I have on this particular team is going to be the Light Pixie. So she is a healer, as you all know. We just had the Heroes Festival Rebirth for her. And so that was the last time I wasn't able to get a dark during the events, but I was able to get a light and putting a lot of monsters into it. So I at least got a lighter dark and I ended up with a light one. So there, all my 4 stars were pretty much cleaned out. But you know, she's a really nice monster to have because she has this def down on her first skill, and then she's got a heal on her second skill. And so she's not like her sister, the Fire Pixie, where you get the additional defense on her. So she's got, you know, she's got the skill which will continually heal your team, and the heal is actually pretty nice. It's pretty massive. I think it might be more than the Sirens. I'm not 100% sure about that. But it doesn't provide a defense benefit like the Hannah or her sister, the Fire one. But it will continually heal your team for 3 turns. And then so that is the classic tank and healer. And then I've got my DPS units with the Jin, who is a straight DPS, and then I've got the Succubus, who is a DPS / self healer / death downer. So this team has 2 death breaks. It's got a death break on the first turn with the Pixie, and then it's got an AoE death break with the Succubus. And if you haven't built a Succubus yet, guys, I would say that she is a very nice monster to have. I would prioritize her over the Fire Yuki if you're between doing those 2. So I actually have an Evo 3 Fire Yuki, but the only reason I have that is because they had an event, was it like a few months ago, and you know, they gave us a Fire Yuki as a rebirth, and she's really nice to have, but I find myself using the Fire Succubus a lot more because she will massively heal herself when she crits on her first skill, and then when she gets her death down, you know, she will AoE death break your team. And there aren't a lot of monsters who are attackers and who have AoE death break on their second skill. Not to mention her massive heal. So I think I talked about this on my B9 video. It was a while back. It was a while ago. But, you know, like the Fire Succubus is really one of a kind. She's got an amazing kit on her, and she's got an amazing leader skill as well. So yeah, if you haven't built a Fire Succubus and you're kind of feeding your Succubuses away, you know, I would build one. She's a really nice unit to have. Also, if you are planning on building one, make sure you get one with a square slot. Do not make the mistake of not getting a Fire Succubus without a square slot. And generally, the more squares you have, the better. If you have multiple Succubi, then, or Fire Succubi, then, you know, for her, I would at least get 1, but you might want 2 in a triangle. You know, you can put crit damage on her as long as the crit damage gem has crit rate on it. If you have a crit damage gem that doesn't have crit rate on it, I would sell that. But yeah, so Fire Succubus is nice to have. She will self heal, and she will get the death break on the monster. The Jin is straight up DPS. He's there to wave clear and to SP generate, just like the Arthur does. 2 of these monsters are on Siphon, so my Jin and my Succubus is on a Siphon set. The Arthur and the Pixie are not, and the Pixie is only on plus 12 gems. I do have plus 15 on the other monsters. But you know, so I can't say that, you know, this particular makeup will work if your gems are lower quality. So if you're only at plus 12. You know, this boss hits very hard, guys, but this is just a general makeup. of the team that I found, you know, works for me. And now I know a lot of players have not reached the point where they have an Evo 3 Fire Gen. So if you want an Evo 3 Fire Gen, that is a residual benefit of doing dragons. So I kind of mentioned this in a previous video, but I think it was the Chloe video. But you know, if you as you farm story mode, you're going to build up dragon sigils for the weekend dragon dungeon, and you know, as soon as you can farm the dragon dungeon, you should do that. And I have promised the dragons video, and I will make that. It's a little bit hard to do because of the because you know, I have a hard time running lower levels, just because of the fact that the barrier to entry to any dragons is going to be the dragon sigil. So that's your limiting factor, right guys? And so if I go into a lower stage dungeon, then that's one run I couldn't do on like dragons B10, or even I think the dark one. I think he's B6 or B8. Sometimes I'll run that one, but I tend to like to run B10. But I will do a dragons video and at least talk about that. I'm not 100% sure if I'll actually show you a run on the lower levels. Yeah, so dragons aside, as you run story mode, which you might be doing, you're going to get sigils, and you need to go ahead and get into the dragons as quickly as possible so that you can get some siphon gems. So I said this before, but your siphon gems are your in-game farming gems right now. The other dragon gems are really nice, but for in-game farming, it is the siphon set. And as you can see in some of my runs, you can kind of see why that is. So just watch how the Fire Gen's SP gauge fills up, and you can kind of see how siphon works. So for number one, the Fire Gen he's got a unique moral boost. I believe right now only the Fire Gen and the Fire Valk have this move, and his is a little more effective. You know, at least at an earlier stage in the game than the Fire Valks, in that he you know, those two have a moral boost that will take 100% of the damage that they dealt and give it back to them in SP. So especially when fighting these kind of wood monsters, he will gain SP extremely fast. And then, you know, when they get their AoE off, he's got an AoE that does a lot of damage. He will also get a full gauge based on that AoE. So if he's hitting 4 monsters, he's pretty much guaranteed on these type of story mode stages, he's guaranteed a full bar on, after he uses AoE, and he AoE clears all the monsters on the stage. Even if there's one little straggler left on the stage, he still probably has a full bar when after he's attacked 4 monsters. It does become a little bit more difficult when he fights things that are not his element advantage, but he still can, if he does enough damage, he still can get a full gauge after he uses his AoE. But yeah, so that's the Fire Gen. That's the benefit of having a siphon, is that if they do enough damage and they hit all 4 of the monsters on, it doesn't have to be 4, but that's just an example. They get a lot of, I think it's 40% of the damage dealt back from the AoE skill. So that's siphon, guys. And siphon is, makes these, I can't say, so it's possible that siphon is what makes this team successful, and so this team may not work for you. It's hard to test this, because it's expensive to move gems, but I would consider doing a team like this even if you don't have siphon gem set, because it's kind of got this idea of a tank. So if you don't have, Evo 3, I realize Evo 3 Water Arthur is hard to get, but You know, even though we've got a lot of clan festivals, we got a lot of heroes festivals, eventually if you wanted to build him, you could, you know, unless you're prioritizing, if you got, say, the light Arthur, you might be prioritizing him. But, you know, with the water Arthur, you know, it doesn't have to be a water monster, so I use him for all the reasons I talked about earlier. But you can substitute, you know, like a water Perseph there. She will naturally be built as a full tank, and she will provide this extra heal that Arthur does not. So I don't have a water Perseph, so I can't use her in a lot of my runs, but it just so happens I do have a water Arthur, and for most of the content that I'm running on story mode, he can tank enough of the damage, and you know, so that the monsters that are squishier on my team can last a lot longer. And so that is what he is there for. So you just have to think about that, guys. So what kind of monster can you use that can tank a lot of damage and help give you this kind of idea of a failsafe? So like I said, I've got 2 failsafes on this team. I've got a healer, which, you know, we usually don't run on most of our farming teams because healers tend to slow down our runs. And I even have a death break on the first turn, which is also something that will slow down your runs, but it helps stabilize my team when it comes to attacking the boss. And I don't plan on running the boss stage a whole lot, but I have a team that can auto the stage, so that, you know, that's something that I can do in order to gain the chaos shards. And then when I finish my chaos shards, I just move on to something that I can farm faster. But yeah, guys, so, you know, that's kind of the general idea of this team. I kind of gave an explanation. So the other thing, so like I was saying with the fire gen, so everyone doesn't have a fire gen, but I think you can probably substitute the dark Sierra or maybe even the light Sierra. So I haven't been using my light Sierra, but you can substitute a Sierra for the fire gen and see how well that works. Now, like I said, they have quality gems. Most of them, I'm pretty sure all of them are on, 6-star gems that are plus 15, give or take, except for the Pixie. So the Pixie does not have a full plus 15 gem set. I think she's only at 12, but that's just because, you know, she's naturally built as with nothing but HP and defense anyway, so it's not as important to max out her set. And I'm not using her anywhere other than I use her a little bit in CVC, but I don't use her really anywhere that would require her to have the best gems right now. In the future, I might actually work on her gems. But whereas Arthur, you know, his gems are very nice because I use him on my defense teams. But, you know, guys, this is just kind of to spur thought and to kind of explain to you, you know, how I stepped back and looked at the boss and decided how I would build my team, because he was, you know, when they released the patch, he was killing everything I threw at him. But this run is pretty stable, and, you know, you can consider doing it. Like I said, there are 2 monsters here on Siphon. They're my attackers, and the other 2 are not. Failsafes, I said this multiple times, are the Arthur and the Pixie. So when my Succubus and Jinn, if they happen to die because they're squishy attackers, then ideally the Pixie and the Arthur kind of pick it up, and they can, even though it'll be very slow, they will ideally be able to kill the tiger, by outlasting him pretty much. Now it can run into problems if those the kind of wood things are not killed early enough, because they'll end up healing the tiger, and the Arthur will have a harder time of killing them, and they will draw aggro. My Arthur's aggro away from the tiger, and like I said, and he'll hit them like a wet noodle because they're wood, and, his weakness. But ideally, if the Pixie can get a death break on one of the wood monsters, he'll still be able to kill it. or the two of them can kill it, and they can eventually kill the tiger. But that's kind of the thought. But that is the potential for a fail if those wood things are not killed quickly enough, and they draw the aggro of my Arthur, and he can't kill them. But for the most part, this team is very stable, and you know that's kind of how I set up my runs, guys. So I hope that this kind of spurred you into thinking, you know, what kind of teams would work for you with the box that you have. So, you know, really the only monster here that might be harder to obtain is going to be the Warder Arthur. Everything else, you know, ideally, well, so the pixie might be a little hard if you weren't able to pick her up, but you know, there were a lot of pixies there. The dark one might actually work. I happen not to have one, unfortunately. You might be able to actually substitute a Venus if you have the Venus, and see how that works. But you know, that's kind of why I went over the makeup of the team: tank, healer, DPS. You know, to so that you can kind of think about what works with your box. But guys, sorry this was a long video. I'm not sure if you all watched the whole thing. I really appreciate it if you did. I hope that you know, if you're going for the dark Miho right now, that this helped you to kind of, you know, realign how you were thinking about the tiger, and give you hope that if you are manualing the tiger, that you don't have to do that. And if you're killing the Evo 3s, and like I said, I'm not 100% sure if they removed that or if that's still in the game, or if you kill an Evo 3 you can get the Chaos Shards. I think it's still in the game. So yeah, I think it is still in the game, because I think I got a Phoenix feather from killing something. I don't know. But yeah, so if you want to if you don't want to kill your Evo 3s, and if that's still in the game, and you want to and you need to make some quick Chaos Shards because you need to make a Superstone as quickly as possible, then you can auto the tiger. It's possible. But yeah, so guys, I'm going to end the video here. Thank you all for watching, and like I said, if you stay through the whole video, I do appreciate that, and I hope this helped. And if you liked the video, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to my channel if you like my content, and I will see you in the next video, guys. Thank you for watching.